Yo, what is up, everybody? Ceresco back again with another short story from the collection titled Hours of Darkness, written by Old School Horror. Remember to check out the links in the description below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Story 2: The Winter's Falls Occurrence. The winter of 1986 was one of the cruelest ones in a long time, and it changed my life forever. The residents of Winter Falls are used to this kind of weather, as the town is close to the Canadian border. There were heavy snowfalls for a few days. The ground froze up. It became harder than concrete. I'm sure the kids loved it. Hell, I loved the snow too when I was a kid. But the situation was not so shiny for us gravediggers. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm still so badly shaken by the events which happened on the night of the 17th of December. My name is Casey Rogers, and I worked at Cold Hill Cemetery, along with my partner, Big Jim Anderson. When we weren't digging graves, we were on night watch. It meant extra money. It wasn't a hard job. We did a few tours of the cemetery per night, and the rest of the time, we watched movies and drank beer or whiskey. Sometimes, we brought our dates there and had a little fun. I kept thinking why somebody needs 2 guards per night at a cemetery. Then I figured that the true reason for us being there is to guard the funeral home that was next to the cemetery. Richard Gravy, the owner of the Gravy Funeral Home, was a rich man, so he needed us. Even though he had an alarm system installed, he insisted that we check the building periodically in his absence. The night of the 17th, which was a Wednesday by the way, was freezing and windy. We went to work at 8 p.m. Our shift would have been over at 8 in the morning. Unfortunately, it was over much too soon. We had a little cabin where we stayed when we were not searching the graveyard or the house. It had all the basics: electricity, running water, television, and a toilet. Mr. Gravy trusted us very much, especially me. He was one of my father's friends, and he gave me a set of keys to the funeral home. The cabin was on cemetery grounds, so we usually entered through the front gate. As we entered, in front of us was the little building. On the right was the funeral home, and on the left, the cemetery. There was a church too, but it was on the other end. As usual, we expected nothing to happen. We put some food in the fridge and left a bottle of Jack on the table. "Hey man, let's go make our tours," said Jim, as he turned the heater on. "Yeah, later we can watch some movies. Here, catch." And he threw me my flashlight, then grabbed his. "Thanks, what's gonna be on TV?" Platoon. People say it's a great war movie." I just nodded and followed him. Jim was a big guy, hence his nickname, Real Viking. His family came from Norway. He was 40 at the time, divorced, and wore a beard. In contrast, I was slim, but younger, only 25. He locked the door and then patted me on the shoulder. "Let's go, buddy." We strolled in the deep snow, pointing our flashlights in every direction. The night was bright because of the snow, as it reflected in the moonlight. Everything looked undisturbed. Even the hobos who came here regularly in the summer were somewhere else, somewhere warm. Pine woods surrounded completely the town of Winter Falls. The cemetery was at the edge of town, and the forest bordered its oldest part. We usually walked on the main path, which ran along the perimeter. Since the cemetery was pretty large, we had to walk for almost an hour just to get back to the barracks. I can't believe this weather, Jimmy. Yeah, it's a pain in the arse. The worst part is that we must bury old Mr. Harbs. Oh shit. Why the hell did he commit suicide in the middle of winter? I don't know. Digging is out of the question now. Yeah, hopefully he can wait a few days. Yeah, I think we can. He waited 2 weeks, hanging from a beam until they found him. 2 more days won't hurt. Yeah, they brought the body to Gravy's today. Tomorrow they will hold the ceremony, and he's all prepared in his coffin on the big table. This is how we called the altar. Wait, what cemetery? Who will come anyway? He had nobody. Well, why should I know? That's the drill, I guess, said Jim. The forest was now well in sight. Only a wire fence stood between us and the wilderness. We could see only a few yards into the woods, even with our flashlights. I fumbled in my pocket for a cigarette, and Big Jim grabbed me by the shoulder. What the hell? What? Dude, I saw something over there. I can't see a damn thing. Dude, it looked like a pair of eyes. It was probably some animal. Come on, man, don't give me the creeps. Sorry. It was just strange because we didn't see a living thing on our way here. Yet some animal now thought that we are interesting. Shouldn't they be hiding in this damn cold? I don't know, man. I'm no zoologist. We continued our tour while all the time searching the woods, but we saw nothing. The funeral home slowly appeared in the distance. First, like a small shadow against the winter sky, then filling it all its dark glory. Nobody was there, at least anybody living. Richard Gravy was on a vacation, and his youngest son did all the work in his absence. He didn't live in the house with his father. He had his own home, not too far from here. Upon reaching the gate, I unlocked the padlock, and we proceeded towards the front entrance. The house was old. They did some renovations a few times, but it still looked old. It always gave me the creeps. I was glad that Jimmy was here too. I entered the security code and the alarm system, and then we entered the foyer. I flicked the light switch, and suddenly it didn't look so menacing. I stepped into the main hall where the seats and the sanctuary were on my right. The flowers were prepared around the coffin. And I wondered, the old Mr. Hobbs really gave a shit if there were flowers all around before we dump him 6 feet below. I walked to the opposite side of the entrance to the main hall and into the corridor that led to the back door. The back door was right behind the sanctuary. The corridor led all the way to the other side of the main hall, and it had windows to the outside. I checked the door. It was locked tight. And at the other end, and the foyer, was a stairwell that led to the upper level where Mr. Gravy's living quarters were. The corridor opened to many smaller compartments, like restrooms, storage, and changing rooms. "Hey Jim, the back door is locked. Let's go back and see that movie. It's almost 9. We locked the front door and then went back to our barracks. It got warm in there while we were out. I switched on the TV, opened the bottle of Jack, and we both made ourselves comfortable in front of the TV. Time passed quickly. After watching Platoon, we searched the channels till finding a horror movie with a maniac in a hockey mask. None of us knew that the true horror movie will start soon and will be the protagonist. We were about halfway through our movie when the power went out. At first we thought it was because of the weather, but after looking out the window, we saw that in the distance, the streetlights were working. I tried the phone. The line was dead. "Ugh, we have to check out the power panel," said Big Jim. And we quickly put our winter coats and flashlights and then went outside. Just after I turned the key, something definitely fell somewhere in the house because there was a loud thump and the sound of boards breaking. We quickened our pace and I felt the adrenaline working. The possibility of a break-in was high, given the considerable wealth of Mr. Gravy. We couldn't call the cops, so we had to investigate on our own. Upon entering the house through the front door, we immediately felt the nauseating smell of decay. Mr. Hobbs was dead for over 2 weeks. My skin crawled and all my hairs were standing up. I shot a puzzled look at Jimmy and saw the hesitation in his eyes. He couldn't be scared so easily, but now I saw that he was a little scared and confused. We cautiously entered the main hall and shone our lights toward the coffin. It was down in front of the table, and its lid was ripped apart. "Listen," I whispered while holding a finger to my mouth. The sound was horrible, slouching like dragging wet rags on the floor. It came from the corridor, which led to the back door. Jim went quickly towards the corridor, pointed his flashlight to the other end. Then he jumped back in fright. I went there too to see what happened, but now the corridor was empty, except for the drag marks that went from the broken coffin towards the corner. The terrible sound continued, but it got increasingly distant. "Fucking hell. Something is dragging the corpse." "What?" "Look, get upstairs and find the shotgun," Jim said, and pushed me towards the stairs. I didn't understand a damn thing, but I complied. I went upstairs and into the dining room. The 12-gauge shotgun was above the hearth. I took it and quickly checked if it was loaded. It was, so I went back down while trying to make as little noise as possible. When I got back down, Jim was standing above the shattered coffin. He motioned me to hurry. The lid was broken into many pieces, and the upper half of Mr. Hobbs's corpse was missing. I handed the gun to Jim, and we headed towards the back door. It was ripped wide open. The drag marks continued into the snow, towards the fence which separated the backyard from the woods. "What the hell is happening?" I asked him, although I knew he had no answer. Ugh, I'll be damned if I knew. Looks like the door was forced open from outside. Something got in, smashed the coffin, and dragged Hobbs' upper half out. Some kind of animal, you think? Only a bear can do that. Black bears are native to these woods. Aren't bears supposed to be hibernating now? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. They should be. Considering the drag marks, whatever was here is gone now. I haven't even finished the sentence when a window pane shattered somewhere on the front of the building. We couldn't hear the glass hitting the ground because of the snow that muffled the fall. We ran to the front and searched the windows with the flashlights. One on the upper floor was broken. "Oh, that ain't no bear," said Jim, and started towards the front door. I followed him. We entered the foyer, then slowly approached the stairs. Nothing moved. There was no sound except our own breathing. Jim was in front, holding the gun. I was close behind. I kept looking around for something to use as a weapon, but found nothing. At the top of the stairs, we waited, looked around, then slowly started approaching the kitchen. When we were in the corridor that had doors to the kitchen, 2 bathrooms, and a dining room and 3 bedrooms, there were also paintings on the wall and an expensive carpet on the floor. I honestly didn't notice too many details because my mind was in overdrive. I tried focusing on staying alive. The kitchen door was ajar. I carefully opened it and Jim entered while holding the gun in front of him, ready to shoot. The window was broken. The curtains were moving in the draft. Another strange thing though, the smell. A rotten aroma had lingered in the air. Was it possible that it drifted here from downstairs? Fact is that it didn't. It wasn't long till we stared in the eyes of whatever created it. We looked around but found nothing. Before we left the kitchen, I grabbed the biggest knife I could find, just in case. My hands were shaking and the cold sweat was rolling down my cheeks. I held the door for Jim and also shone my flashlight into the corridor. It was safe to move. He noticed that the door to the dining room on the other side of the corridor was open, so he stopped beside it. I nozzled it open and we entered. It was a large room with paintings, a hearth with a large chimney. In the middle was an old oak table and chairs, probably from the turn of the century. I put a hand on Jim's shoulder, signaling him to stop and listen. Rustling, barely audible, but it was there. pointed his gun towards the hearth, and I knew then what he meant. Whatever was inside, it wanted to escape through the chimney. I switched off the flashlight and approached the hearth and crouched beside it. My heart pounding like a sledgehammer, I thought it was going to burst from my body. I wanted to look up the shaft, so I slowly leaned my head closer and closer. The smell was awful. It was like I wanted to stick my nose into a dead rat. Jim, though, he was ready, and he was ready with the gun. He stood 2 feet from the hearth and did not make a sound. My head got right below the shaft. It was completely dark, so I pointed my flashlight upwards, switched it on. All of a sudden, a loud shriek erupted from the top of the shaft, and whatever that thing was, it escaped with a few quick moves. I fell on my ass from fright. The flashlight rolled away. It was still working. Jim was ready, but there was nothing to shoot. It escaped. What was it? I don't know. It looked human. It was barefoot and it wore some ragged clothing. I didn't see a face though. What? No human can make a shriek like that. Damn, I thought my balls are gonna go back inside. Jim, what do we do? Honestly, I wanted to leave this godforsaken place so badly, but I could feel that Jim will not abandon the house. He was always a fighter, and he would not run away now. Whatever he is going to say, I will stick with it. Look, we're gonna shoot the damn thing before it messes up the whole place. So my feeling was correct. He was scared too. I could see that on his face, but he wanted to do his job, whatever the cost. We headed towards the stairs again. Jim with the gun, and me with the light. Hey Jim, do you think it's gonna come back? I don't know, but I have a feeling that it will. No movement in the main hall. I kept searching the surroundings with my flashlight, but saw nothing. We were on the edge. Our nerves were strained to the maximum. I felt my heart beating like a piston again. Jim was edgy. He reacted to every sound he heard, even the faintest one. The back door made a creaking sound, and our skin crawled. Jim signaled me, and we started moving towards the door. He moved close to the windowed side of the corridor, I beside him. When we saw that there was nothing, Jim signaled again to move back. We barely turned, and the window burst open right behind them. The thing from the chimney grabbed him with a huge jerk, pulled him out. The gun fell out from Jim's hands, and I almost shat myself as I fell again on my sorry ass. I dropped the knife on the floor, and I heard him scream, so I grabbed the gun and ran outside. Jim was struggling, I could hear that, so I turned the corner and pointed my flashlight toward him, and I saw the creature. It wasn't human, only looked like one. About 5 feet tall and slim, so slim that I could see all of its protruding ribs. Its eyes reflected the light. Its head was bald teeth sharp. It had skin, but it looked partially decayed, and it had no nose, only empty holes. There was also this nauseating, rotten stench all around it. One of its claw's hand was around Jim's throat, who hit it desperately with his fists in order to loosen the grip. When the light fell on the monster, it shrieked again and quickly jumped on the roof of the corridor, then disappeared into the darkness. Its claws made scratching sounds as they searched for purchase. I was scared shitless, but I knelt beside Jim to see if he was hurt. He looked like he had no external injuries, but his eyes were wide open and he was trembling all over, his breathing heavy. He reached for my hand and squeezed it. What the hell was that? I don't know, but let's get here. Can you walk? Yes, I think I can. When he grabbed him to help him up, he screamed in pain. Some of his ribs had been broken. I was sure of that. Whatever the creature was, it had a terribly amount of strength. Even Big Jim wasn't a match for it. This scared me. If it did this to Jim, what is it gonna do to me? I shunned these bad thoughts from my mind and focused at the task at hand. I had to help Jim to his feet and lead him to safety. So I put my arms under his and helped him stand up. It hurt him a lot, but I couldn't do anything else. I put my right arm around my neck and gave him the flashlight. I grabbed the shotgun with my right hand and we moved forward. It was a slow progress. His ribs were hurting at every step, and he made gurgling sounds, and I would see blood trickling from his mouth and his nostrils. He had internal bleeding, and the broken ribs probably pierced his lungs. I knew he was going to die unless I get some help quickly. Come on, Jimmy. Come on. I have to get you to the ER. Fuck. Tried to shout in pain, but the last part was muffled because of a damaged lung. We barely reached the corner of the house when he is fading. The flashlight was dangling in his hand, and it was harder for me to move him. That was when the creature jumped on us from somewhere on the roof. The impact was violent, and we both hit the ground. Fortunately, though, the snow cushioned our fall. I turned, and I saw that the creature was on top of Jim, already hitting him violently. Jim fought back with all of his remaining power. He landed a few powerful hits on the head of the thing while screaming in rage. But it had little effect. I grabbed the gun, which fell beside me, and shot it. The creature staggered back the few steps, then fell onto the ground. It screamed, but I saw it was getting up. I shot at it again, trying to aim for the head, but my hands were shaking badly. The pellets connected, and it fell on its back again. I stood there, transfixed, ready to shoot. It moved again. It didn't, so I knelt over Jim. He was still breathing, but he was messed up, especially his face and his neck. He was unresponsive, and I couldn't carry him. He was too heavy. So I had to run and call for help. I was really hoping that somebody heard the shots and called the cops. In a few seconds, I made a decision. I was going to run as fast as I could and call for help before Jim freezes or bleeds to death. When I got up, I recoiled in fear. The creature was up too, squatting like a chimp. It was facing me, ready to jump. I pointed the gun towards it, but I couldn't pull the trigger. It smashed into me with lightning speed and with the power of a cargo train, hitting me on the head. I hit the ground violently and almost passed out. My vision was blurry, and I couldn't move. It stood there for a moment, and then I saw it grabbing Jim's body by the collar of his coat. It looked around one last time and then moved past me towards the forest while dragging Jim behind it. I heard the thump of Jim's body hitting the snowy ground on the other side of the fence, and then nothing but the wind. I lay there until the police arrived. Fortunately for me, they were quick. Even with the shortest response time, I almost froze to death. The shots have been heard by several people, and they alerted the authorities. An ambulance rushed me to the hospital and had to operate on my head as my skull was filling up with blood. I sustained brain damage, my neck was almost broken, and they had to put titanium screws in my jaw. I told nobody about what truly happened that night. I said I couldn't remember. I mean, come on, who would have believed me anyway? They believed the memory loss part though. After a few months in the hospital and a few months at home, I was better. Well, except for the occasional headaches and pains in my neck when the weather turned bad. When I was finally feeling well enough, I went back to the funeral home. Of course, this happened during the day. There, as the memories of that fateful night flooded my mind, I closed my eyes and swore that one day I will come back. I knew that whatever took Jim that night is still here somewhere, and it will be for a long time unless I finish the job. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our second story.